I have this app on my phone, aside from the parish app, okay, that I hope all of you have. I'm plugging, okay? Make sure that you have the parish app so you can. I have this app that gives me breaking news. Whatever that is happening around the world, or especially in our country, it gives me that breaking news immediately. A few days ago, and you have probably have already heard this and have seen it on the news, that the president have allotted about 5 million 5 million COVID test kits to be available for all Americans, for all the for the country, for us to be able to get them for free. And that was the breaking news I received that morning. And so as I was reading and scrolling, at the end of the story, there is a section where people can give comments. And I started reading the comments. I've never read a single positive comment. Sometimes, and I fall to this also, and I'm guilty to this, it is easy for us to look at a person and make our own judgment. As I was reading those negative comments, I said to myself, where are their foundation? Have they researched the things that they are trying to say against the government? Sometimes I would drive and I would see a person standing at the corner of the streets, and immediately my first reaction is fear. But nowadays, because I am aware of my own limitation, I am aware of that sin of mine, of making judgment. Now, instead, each time I would see someone standing, holding a placard or something, they're asking and begging for money, I don't get afraid. But I try now to pray for this person, because I don't know how this person came to that moment. I don't know his life. And so instead of making my own judgment that I get fear and so many other things, I offer a prayer at that moment, especially if I cannot give something. There is a saying that mothers knows best. To the mothers that are here, can you raise your hands? Is that true? Is that true? Does mother knows best? The gospel today probably tells us that that saying is true. Through Mary. Mary knew her son well. For 30 years, Mary has spent her time with Jesus. And she, as the gospel would tell us, only a few things, but those few things are very profound, that Mary would ponder everything into her heart. And so Mary knew when the time to ask Jesus for something. And one of Mary's gifts is to be able to share what she has. And one of that is Jesus. And so she told her son, they're running or they have no more wine. And we heard the response of Jesus. A very normal response to every child. To the parents that are here, you know those responses. Children would, at times, when you ask them something to do, would tell you something different. But then eventually, Because of their love, because of obedience, they follow. The gospel today brings us now to that moment, as I said at the beginning, where Christ manifested himself for the very beginning as he began his ministry of preaching the kingdom. That first manifestation that Jesus presented to the world was during the visit of the Magi, which we celebrated a few Sundays ago. And then last Sunday, the second manifestation is his baptism, where where God the Father had said, "This is my begotten Son. Listen to him." And now Jesus manifested himself that he is indeed the divine Son of God, the Son of Mary, who brings that divine providence, the divine promise to each one of us. As we begin this ordinary time in our liturgical year, we are given this gospel reading, the gospel reading about a marriage, a wedding feast, because it reminds us that we are espoused with God. Remember at Christmas, the name that was given to Jesus is Emmanuel. God is with us, and therefore God continues to be with us. This is the reason why our first reading reminded us that we are God's delight. We are God's espoused. And so Christ comes to us in that image of that wedding feast. But aside from that wedding feast, as the second reading reminds us that we are all given gifts, gifts that we have received the moment we were all baptized. And that was the gift that Mary is sharing to that couple at Cana, the gift of Jesus. For each one of us, the gifts that we were given is something that we should not be kept only to ourselves. Each one of us, all of us, young and old, were all given a gift. To the young people that are here, this is the time that you try to encounter and to see what are your gifts. I remember when I was studying, my teachers would always remind me that we have gifts. How to develop those gifts is, as we continue to study, we learn and we try to learn who we are by those gifts. One gift that I knew I have is I know how to draw. Okay? And I remember my drawings when I was first grade, when I was sixth grade, when I was high school, the development that I could see. Because each one of us, as we gather every Sunday, our gifts must be shared, must continue to be developed. One of the greatest gifts that God has given to all of us is the gift of time. All of us have that gift. And each one of us are asked every day to share that gift to one another. I remember when the pandemic hits and we have to close the church, and then after that we had to open it. We've lost all our choir, our ministers. Then I had to remind them or to ask them to come back again, to once again share the gifts that they have. And therefore, each one of us, God continues to stretch us to the gifts that God has given. Therefore, there should be no jealousy among us. We should not be jealous that this person can sing or this person can dance and I'm not. But rather we should try to see that gift, because every gift that we share to one another creates a miracle. The wedding feast at Cana continues until this very moment. Each time that our faith is lived, miracle happens. We need just to be aware of that in our lives. And we need to carry the great wisdom, the great counsel that Mary said in the gospel today. Do whatever he tells you. Each time that we gather in this Eucharist, God reminds us to share our gifts, to lay those gifts at the foot of the altar, so that everyone can partake of that gifts. We are reminded each time that we receive Jesus in the Eucharist that we have to carry him out and to do the will of God. My brothers and sisters, let us take this week as something that we could carry each day until we meet again next Sunday, the words of Mary, the words of a mother who knew her son. Do whatever he tells you.